Okay, we're gonna go ahead. I apologize for the delay. We were zooming someone in. It took me longer than what I thought to figure out how to do that. So we are a few minutes late, but I'm gonna call the October 17th, 2024 Planning Commission meeting to order. Do you want to do roll call, Tom or Sean? Sean. Here.
Here.
All right, thank you. So we have, oh, Terry, sorry. Terry, you're just so quiet. Okay, everyone should have received the minutes from the previous meeting and had an opportunity to review. Do I have a motion to approve? Or
Second.
a motion from Dale, second from Kennan. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. So we have old business tabled from 2020, September 2024 monthly meeting, case B 2278, request by Henry County Redevelopment Commission to rezone property at the southwest corner of County Road 400 South and State Road 3 from general business and agricultural to light industrial. Part of the property under review is currently in the County Road 400 South Overlay District, which is largely zoned light industrial. I'm going to turn this over for right now to Sean, because I know there was some question as to whether or not we could have, hear this tonight. So I will turn this over to Sean.
So as far as the timing of the hearing, the applicant, in our rules of procedure, we have to hear cases within 60 days. However, the applicant in this case waived that right. We're on, I believe, the 63rd day now today, with the understanding that Monday was also a holiday. So, but at any rate, the purpose of the rule and purpose of the statute is to protect the rights of the applicant and the petitioner to be heard in a timely manner. In this instance, the petitioner applicant did indeed waive the right to be heard there. So my position is that this is timely held, and you can move forward with hearing this case tonight.
Any questions by the members of the commission?
So generally speaking, once an applicant files an application, we have to hear it within 60 days. The purpose of that is to make sure that petitioners or applicants are heard in a timely manner so that matters aren't continued and things like that. In this instance, the applicant agreed to waive that right to have a hearing within 60 days. And that was what was, that's why my position is what it is that it's timely held based on that waiver.
Any questions from anybody? Okay. Come forward. Oh, yes. Do I have a motion to remove case B 2278 from the table position? Motion by Dale. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Marcia. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. And make sure your light is green. There's
Push
a
the
button right
button.
on
Now
top
I'm
of it.
green. Can you hear me all right?
Yes. I don't understand I think that. No, that's not these three guys.
Oh, okay.
That's not these, that's the next case. Okay. Okay, all right, thank you.
No problem. Good evening, members of the Planning Commission and staff. Thank you for your time and consideration of our request tonight. I'm Mara Hoff. I'm a partner with Defer Varan at 1315 Broad Street here in Newcastle. I'm representing the Henry County Redevelopment Commission, who is the applicant. With very few exceptions, every community needs industrial uses. That is a direct quote from your comprehensive plan. So what we are bringing to you tonight is a request for a rezone to light industrial. The zoning in this area varies. This 92-acre parcel in Franklin Township is currently split between a general business zone and an ag zone. It lies directly between State Road 3 and the Hayes landfill, which is heavy industrial. We are requesting light industrial as the appropriate zoning for this parcel. Boar's Head is adjacent across State Road 3 to the east, and it is already zoned light industrial, making this a matching adjacent use and not a spot zoning issue. This is a natural progression of industrial growth along a major corridor in your town, and industrial developments must consider transportation costs when they're analyzing a location to build. So access to State Road 3 is a critical component of the future development of this parcel and makes it prime to attract those limited industrial users. There are adjacent residential parcels, and we have committed to an increased buffer zone of 30 feet of landscaping between County Road 400 and any development on our parcel. We do not intend to request any variances from your County Road 400 corridor standards. A light industrial district in the zoning code states that they are established to encourage the development of industries and wholesale business establishments that are clean, quiet, and free of hazardous or objectionable elements, that operate entirely within enclosed structures and generate little industrial traffic. These zoning districts are further proposed to act as transitional districts between heavy industrial and business districts. The RDC will seek end users that fall within this definition of clean, quiet businesses generating little industrial traffic. At this time, I'd like to invite Corey Murphy up to speak about the opportunities that a light industrial zone on this parcel could mean for growth here in Henry County.
Corey, is this where you want your PowerPoint?
Want me to speak from there? Advance the PowerPoint? Well, actually, this is fire.
Ooh.
Because you know how to run PowerPoints, right?
Thank you, members of the Planning Commission. My name is Corey Murphy with the Newcastle Henry County Economic Development Corporation. And the Economic Development Corporation serves as the staff to the County Redevelopment Commission. I'm going to focus on why. It's to remain competitive for business investment and jobs. Why the request for this rezone. Here's a map. Parcels 1, 2, and 3 are the subject of the rezone request. It lies generally between the landfill, which is a heavy industrial zoning, or an I-2, and State Road 3. And as previously mentioned by Ms. Hoff, it's directly adjacent to our current industrial park that's labeled on the map there. Here's an aerial view looking southwest. Boar's Head and County Road 400 South are labeled, State Road 3 is labeled, and then I-70. This is a quote from a site selection consultant and an author. He trademarked the phrase, "No product, no project." I sent him an email to request his permission to use this in this PowerPoint presentation. It's really as simple as that. You just can't sell from an empty wagon. If community leaders are serious about job creation and capital investment, then there needs to be a product that can be marketed and ultimately sold or leased. Without product, a community will be overlooked or passed over by communities that do have the type of product companies desire. The product here is the land. This is a graphic that explains the site selection process. The point here is it is a process of elimination. If you're familiar with the show Survivor, you win Survivor by, to vote your competition off the island, get them off the island. This is a process of elimination. The top of the funnel, you start with several locations, and by the time you move down the funnel, you're down to 2 or 3 finalists. Here's a competitive snapshot of product in our area. So I went to the state site database, which is publicly available at iedc.in.gov, and I did a search. I did a search in Shelby County. How many industrial sites are they marketing? 25. How many of those sites are 90 acres or above? 10. And the largest site is 296. And you can see the other counties and the other information. We're at 5 with 0 sites above 90 acres at this point. If this is ultimately rezoned, I'll update this table to 1. And that's this site. Site plan notes, and we have a display of the site plan that's on the right. The survey is on the left. No end user has been identified. We're doing this to be competitive. We're doing this so we can market it. I haven't started marketing it because the end user doesn't want to go through this process because there's too much risk, time-wise. Time kills deals. That's why we're doing it in advance to have the correct zoning in place. Then we can market it. No end user has been identified. The site could be subdivided for multiple businesses. If that occurs, if multiple businesses go there, the development will occur from east to west over time. And probably a lengthy amount of time. Probably several years. Subdivision requires future county review and approval. A single client may use the site. We don't know. In all scenarios, the site is subject to the County Road 400 South Overlay District. And let me be clear. If you look in detail on the overlay district, this parcel is actually subdivided. The line goes right down the middle of the parcel. We commit that the entire parcel will be subject to the County Road 400 South Overlay District. What does that mean? Well, that overlay district requires public notice and another hearing, similar to what we're doing here tonight. Now, it's narrow in scope. The purpose of that hearing is to confirm compliance with the overlay district, but there's still another checkpoint for the county. A landscape buffer will be installed on the western edge at the RDC expense. The landscape buffer along 400 South will be the responsibility of the end users. The drainage pond on the west side of the property allows for approximately 880 feet, or the equivalent of 2.5 football fields of distance between proposed structures and the adjacent home. And I'm going to end repeating what I started with. No end user has been identified. What is a good site for economic development? Actually available for sale. In other words, the price doesn't change depending on who's asking. It's really available. And that's why the County Redevelopment Commission has, they were formed in 1984. I was 5 years old in 1984. The County Redevelopment Commission, through the leadership of several generations of county commissioners and county council, have developed the industrial park. They have to have product. Zoned correctly ahead of time. I bolded that in that list. Access to transportation. So that's State Road 3 and I-70. We're 2 miles from the I-70 interchange. Utility infrastructure, water, sewer, gas, electric, broadband. Before we purchased that, we did an analysis on extending those utilities. It is going to cost some money, but it's reasonable. So that's where just having a piece of dirt somewhere doesn't necessarily make a good site for economic development. It has to have close proximity to water, sewer, gas, electric, and broadband. And the site is free of environmental and ecological concerns. I should have repeated that slide. No product, no project. And that's why we're here, asking you to rezone to put us in a more competitive position for business development and jobs. Thank you. You want this back? Pass the potato.
Thanks, Corey. To wrap up our presentation, as you all know, a rezoning is ultimately left to the legislative discretion of the county commissioners. But they are relying on you to do the hard work and make a recommendation to them as to whether you think this is an appropriate rezone or not. While no one standard controls that decision for you, there are 5 different standards you are asked to pay reasonable regard to. The first is your comprehensive plan. The comp plan states, improve the county's collective ability to deliver shovel-ready sites for redevelopment. This is exactly what Corey was talking about. Henry County needs one that's ready to go if you're going to be able to market your community. The comp plan also does call for the corridor or east side of the parcel to be industrial and leaves the remainder as agricultural. The important part of that is it is not seen as prime ag or any kind of protected parks or open space. So it is subject to being rezoned. So this type of growth is clearly anticipated by the plan and supported by the comp plan. It challenges you to make growth-based decision-making. You should be proactive rather than reactive and be focused on the future rather than maintaining the status quo. And it will be great to watch Henry County grow. The second standard is to look at the current conditions and the character of the current structures and uses in each district. Seeing that Boar's Head is right across the street is a prime example of the positive impact this kind of change could have on your county. The third standard is to look at the most desirable use for which the land in each district is adapted. Because it is right next to State Road 3, and that is an important factor in economic development, this is prime for industrial and high-level commercial. Number 4 is the conservation of property values throughout the jurisdiction. This is not just a consideration of the immediately adjacent parcels, though there is no proof that any values would decrease because of a development like this. Economic growth by businesses increases the taxes received by the units of local government and provides jobs, which increases the demand for residences within the county, which is an overall increase in the value of living in Henry County. Number 5 is responsible development and growth. This is a reasonable expansion of an already successful light industrial corridor with access to a major roadway. So in conclusion, we respectfully request your recommendation of approval of this rezoning to the commissioners. I'm happy to take any questions you may have. Thank you.
Are there any questions from the planning commission to the applicant?
I have one. Looking at your map, it shows that there's forested or woods, looks like to be about 9 acres that buffers this proposed industrial site from, what's it called, Fair Oaks? Like Fair Oaks subdivision. That's going to maintain, I mean, there's no immediate discussion about raising those trees. Is that immediate future planning on maintaining that wooded area in the southwest part?
We have no plans of developing the woods. In fact, the woods will remain intact.
Okay. That looked to be a substantial part of that triangle that we're looking at.
In your presentation? Yeah, sorry, I pulled up the slide two. Okay, thank you.
And the overlay area kind of cuts the eastern part of it. Did I hear you say that the overlay area, the whole 94 acres was going to be treated as the overlay area, even though about the eastern third is currently the overlay area? Did I understand that correctly?
Yes, I made a commitment that the entire parcel under question here to be treated as part of the County Road 400 South overlay.
And most of the area north of that wooded area that you said is going to be intact is a 9.5 acre retention pond.
Is just north of the wooded area. Yeah.
Right.
Here's the proposed detention area.
And it's the responsibility of whoever buys this to, what was it, a 30-foot buffer along 400? Is that what I understood? And that's,
Yes, we committed to a 30-foot landscaping buffer.
so that would be vegetation, or would it be a raised berm like it was between, I don't know, Walmart and whatever's to the north of Walmart? Or is just vegetation,
Vegetation.
like evergreens, arborvitae?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
So on, along County Road 400 South, we're showing a landscape buffer. But that will be the responsibility of the end users,
Okay.
not the redevelopment commission. The buffer along the western edge, the redevelopment commission will put that in.
and how close is that western edge to landfill?
I don't know the distance to the landfill.
So what he means by the end user being asked to put it in is that upon your approval, we're not going to run out and plant 30 feet of trees. When an end user is identified and they bring their development plan to you, part of it will be agreeing to match that commitment we make today.
And we'd have a review of that as well, that it's being done adequately.
That comes back to a public hearing.
I don't know that it comes
400.
back to a public hearing, but it's reviewed administratively for sure.
It'll be part of your sales agreement to whoever buys it.
Yes.
It will be part of the sales agreement. Yeah. Okay.
And you bought the property that, there is a homestead there. You bought that as well?
Yes.
Okay.
That's parcel 1 on your map.
Is that going to be raised or what?
It's already in process.
Okay.
Complete raising will occur in the next 2 months. We're going to go through a public bid process for that.
Okay, Dale.
Corey, just to reaffirm what you said, was what we're looking at tonight is just to rezone, but there's nobody that's hanging out here ready to jump on and build just right yet. What we're talking about is making this property available for somebody that wants to build or whatever, you know. That's
Correct.
basically what we're talking about.
Correct.
Because I know not everybody is familiar with what the overlay district entails. I have it here, so I'm going to read the restrictions that cannot take place in those 400 overlay. Use restrictions, uses permitted in the primary zoning district for each property shall remain permissible, except that the following uses shall be expressly prohibited within the overlay district: adult entertainment, tattoo parlor, manufacturing, sales, storage, or distribution of pesticides, liquor store, nightclub, check cashing or payday loan facility, petrol, gasoline or diesel fueling or storage, petroleum refining, dry cleaning plant, confined feeding operations, bulk storage and distribution of grain, sewage treatment facility, solid waste transfer station, landfill, manufacturing, storage, or distribution of volatile organic compounds, mineral extraction, and the last one is asphalt processing plant. So none of these things can go into the overlay district. And there are other restrictions in the overlay district as well. Correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
and those may be helpful to people as well, just to know that all surface parking and driveways have to be hard surface. There'll be no gravel creating dust. No outdoor storage of anything is allowed.
Yeah, there's no outdoor, I'll just go ahead and read that for you. Surface parking and driveway for commercial, industrial, and not-for-profit public uses shall be hard surfaced. Gravel or other loose earthen materials shall not be permitted for surface parking and or driveways, except in single-family residential and agricultural operations. Outdoor mulch or compost piles shall be prohibited. Outdoor gravel, aggregate, salt, sand, or other certain earthen material piles shall be prohibited. Approval by the planning commission as a commission approved use shall require for establishment of any use other than residential use within the County Road 400 South Overlay District. Said commission approved use shall not be granted until the following is determined by the planning commission in a public hearing following notice in accordance with the rules and procedures of Henry County Planning Commission. The proposed use is compliant with the use restrictions of the County Road 400 South Overlay District, and the proposed use is compliant with the operational restrictions development standards of the County Road 400 South Overlay District. So with that being said, you don't have an end user yet. When you do have somebody interested, will you bring them before us, before they purchase it or after they purchase it?
It'll
Or
be
the-
before.
Before, that's what I figured.
Yeah.
So before they purchase the property, they have to submit a plan that says they are in compliance, and we have to verify that they are in compliance with the overlay district.
And to take it a little further, if they're gonna be in clear violation of the overlay
They're
district.
not gonna buy it. Yeah.
We don't bring the application.
Exactly. And so and again, just for clarification, this overlay district was done, quite a while back, when Boar's Head was coming in, is that correct?
2014.
2014. Yeah, I didn't see the signature date. So, I just wanted to kind of clear up what the overlay district means. I know a lot of people get confused when you talk about the overlay district. Are
Thank
there any
you.
other questions from the planning commission?
Yeah, of course, Mr. Gray does.
Of course.
Of course. My understanding, because I worked on the EDC, is that huge pet food in Rushville,
Diamond.
huge. Didn't consider Henry County because we didn't have the acreage. I mean, we weren't anywhere close to the acreage that plant would take. Correct or incorrect?
I'm not sure that Diamond ever was looking at us, but oftentimes we're being evaluated and don't even know it. I can tell you without a doubt, Blue Buffalo on the I-70 corridor in Wayne County, we were on the short list for that project.
Mhm.
It ultimately went to Wayne County because we ran out of land.
Well, that chart you showed, all the East Central Indiana counties that are kind of like us have a lot more land available for people to look at than we do. And none over 90 acres, which would still, even if we were to approve this, would put us at the bottom of the list as far as possible sites for individuals to consider in Henry County. I hear a lot of people say, woe is what's happened to this county since Chrysler went out and Metaldyne went out. And if we don't provide something like this, we'll never get back to a growing, prosperous community that has a lot of tax base that we once enjoyed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have questions for the? Okay, so Tom, do you want to keep time? Or you want me to keep, you know what, I'll keep time. Okay, so now we will open it up for public comment. Our typical time frame for that is 20 minutes with a maximum of 3 minutes per person. but my OCD brain doesn't like that 20 is not divisible by 3. So, so what we'll do is we'll do 21 minutes. Each person 3 minutes, up to 3 minutes. Your time cannot be transferred to anyone else. So anybody who wants to speak in favor of this project, please come down and do so now. And I will start the timer. If you would, state your name for us, and hang on 1 second and I will get you going. Okay, and there we go. Is your microphone on?
Yeah.
Is it green now?
It's green now.
There you go.
Quick restart the timer. No, I'll be less than 3 minutes. I'll be brief. So good evening, distinguished members of the Henry County Planning Commission. My name is Trevor Friedeberg. I'm the president and CEO of the East Central Indiana Regional Partnership. And I'm here to speak in support of the proposed zoning change to light industrial of the property under review in order to expand the industrial park in the area. Taking proactive measures such as this puts the county in a much more competitive position to attract new industry and investment, which is critical to the overall economic health and growth of the community. One of the top items that I hear regularly from site consultants, and Corey did a
I'm
fantastic
going to
job.
pause you for 1 minute.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, we have to keep at least one of those doors open because it's a public meeting. Yep. Sorry, it's a public meeting, and if the doors are closed, it's not considered public.
Just jumping back into it.
Okay, go right ahead. If you would go closer to your microphone, please.
Absolutely. Corey did a fantastic job outlining the importance of having available product in your community. And one of the top items that I hear from site consultants when I'm out in the field trying to attract businesses is that having the speed to market, having the product availability is one of the crucial components. And it's incredibly important for any business to make an investment in a community, to know that they're in a community that's taking the proactive measures to do that. So having a site that's appropriately zoned shows a community's dedication and prudence to create a positive environment that can accommodate growth, and it's critical to our ever-changing economic development landscape. Partnership is committed to fostering an environment that supports business retention, attraction, and long-term regional development. We believe that this zoning change aligns with our regional goals and serves as a catalyst for future growth in Henry County and within the East Central region. So to reiterate, I am in support of this zoning change and greatly appreciate your positive consideration on this matter. Thank you.
You are good to go.
Thank you, Planning Commission members. Chad Malakote. I am a member of the Henry County RDC, and I think I won't speak necessarily to the reasonings we devoted to purchase this land, because I think it's well established. I want to talk about, I live as a resident right next door to the 400 South Industrial District. So I have firsthand experience in being a neighbor to them, and have to say I have had zero issues. I live with an eye shot right on Landmark Drive to TS Tech, and drive past Boar's Head and all those factories on a regular basis. Have had zero issues with it whatsoever. Have not had any issues with the home values either. We've been absolutely astonished at the pricing of the homes. And, you know, there's several homes that have sold on our road recently. And even my house had to get reappraised, and it was quite surprising. So, I mean, I just wanted to speak to that. I know that's a big concern, and I had a big concern of that, frankly, when I first started looking into all this. But I have to say that the industrial park has been a phenomenal neighbor. They've done a great job of maintaining the roads, and so has the county from picking that up. And those roads are in phenomenal shape, better than they were ever. So, which is another pleasant part to that picture. So I just want to speak to that as a neighbor of the industrial park. I've had zero issues, and I'm glad that they're right next door for all of the benefits they bring to this county, which I won't waste the time. I'll give it to someone else who have it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I would like to speak on behalf of the Henry County REMC. We are within the industrial park. We are proud to be within the industrial park. And I am in support of this project to be approved. I know the value of extending this industrial park. I work with Corey on a regular basis to look at projects that come forward. I hear from other utilities across the state where I'm in meetings on a monthly basis where they're talking about receiving projects, and it seems like we're kind of behind in some of that. So it would be nice to have additional property available within our county to be able to offer to these organizations that are looking. Thank you.
Do we have anybody else that wants to speak for? Okay, so now we will move on to con or against. Tom, I'm going to ask you to set your timer for 21 minutes and I'll do the 3 minutes apiece. I was keeping track of how many seconds and minutes were left for everybody speaking, if you don't mind. So so we have 21 minutes up to 3 minutes per person. So anybody that wants to speak, again, come to the microphone. We ask that you speak. We ask that you don't direct questions. You direct any questions to the Planning Commission. When your time is up speaking, if there's any questions that need to be answered, we will bring them back up for 10 more minutes and they can answer any questions. All right. Welcome to the podium.
Hello, my name's Jenny Sharp, and I live directly west to this property. So that pond will butt up against my driveway. First, I will say Mr. Murphy's been awesome. He's kept me fully in the loop. He's attempted to work with us, so I do appreciate that. But there are a couple of things that I want to point out. So we did hear their lawyer and the second gentleman that came up to speak said that their property values aren't affected. Well, I will tell you that mine is. Immediately upon this announcement, we had our home assessed to see what the value would be so we could sell our home. And our property value dropped significantly to be able to market our house. We would never be able to replace what we currently have for what we could sell our home for. So I know you don't have evidence. I'm giving it to you now. It will affect your home value. Secondarily, the second gentleman that spoke who lives next to Boar's Head, perfect. You said that the home sold on the road and you're surprised at what they're selling for. There's a reason they're selling, because nobody wants to live directly next to Boar's Head, especially when you leave a place like Hancock County, because they're developing so much and taking the country out of the country. So my husband and I took our life savings. We bought a home where we could finish raising our family, where we could bring our elderly parents to live with us, where our grandkids would be safe in the country, not next to a manufacturing facility. While the manufacturing facilities may not have caused problems yet, I will tell you that I work in manufacturing and I have for the 25 years that I've been in my career. I currently work in warehousing and I know the personalities of most of those truck drivers that deliver those loads. My grandchildren would not be safe in my yard with truck drivers next door at any kind of facility. In fact, my grandchildren wouldn't be safe running around my yard with anything developed there. On behalf of the entire neighborhood, EDC was so kind as to waive their right to their 60-day hearing. It benefited them to be able to do that. So I'm going to ask them to give us that benefit. Let's table it for another 30 days because I don't feel that all of you can make a proper decision without actually coming and visiting this site. I encourage you to, I will leave you my phone number. Please call me. I will have snacks and drinks on my deck that my husband and I just invested in building. And I ask that you come sit on my deck and you look at this piece of property and you tell me it's not going to affect me, it's not going to affect my home value, and tell me it's okay.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I just want to say that was a question. I'm asking on behalf of the neighborhood that we table this for 30 more days. We don't need another hearing. I'm just asking you not to make a decision for another 30 days until you come visit those people that this is going to directly affect.
Anybody else want to speak?
Hi, I'm Andrew Burke. I live right on 400 South, right next to the landfill where they're actually doing the heavy machinery. The map is not showing where I live. It's just to the north next to where they're actually burying trash right now. And it was back in 1958 that my family first moved there, long before the landfill existed, and we've suffered the consequences of this zoning into heavy industrial my entire life. My grandparents, my father's entire life, they've all dealt with the consequences of rezoning agricultural land right next to residences. And it's not fun, just to say the least. I have a wife that couldn't be here and 3 children. Dr. Jody Lucas, my kids Annabelle Lincoln and Joseph, 11, 6, and 4. They will all be greatly affected by this. They currently are able to go get the mail, ride their bike to the end of the lane, get the mail. That's not going to be safe with the big giant road there. We don't want to live next to a Boar's Head. Do you? I mean, I like the country. I live out here in the country because I enjoy the rural lifestyle. Some of the things in this letter here, wildly inaccurate. In between Highway 3 and the landfill is not just nothing but this field. It's at least 10 houses, if you count the one that the landfill owns, full of people, except for the one they just bought for an exorbitant amount of money and forced the tenants out of the house. That's property number 1. What's actually in between 3 and the landfill is just all residences. But if you're talking point to the northwest, you can see the mountain of trash. Then yes, that property is in between the mountain of trash that the landfill has created and the highway. So that's a little inaccurate there, that there's nothing between this heavy industrial and the road. But besides that, the heavy industrial activity going on is more than a half mile from the corner of property number 2. So to the north, off the map, is where the heavy industrial activity is even happening. So it's not adjacent to heavy industrial. I would be fine if they put a Chick-fil-A there. My kids would be happy too. Maybe a neighborhood with some roads they could ride their bikes on. That would be nice. And that's already zoned for these types of things. What I don't want to live next to is something like Boar's Head. Giant factory, a lot of semis, a lot of cars, a lot of traffic. Eventually there'll probably be a stoplight at 403. And just to the development committee, I mean, imagine you get off the interstate at 70, you see empty businesses all along the road. There's VRA closed, Harley Trucking closed, a slab of concrete where a gas station used to be. There's a lakefront pile of rocks on the right. Then there's what used to be a great drive-in movie theater I went to as a child. I mean, all of this is going to deter
I'm sorry, your
potential
time is up.
buyers, not to mention the landfill right in the background of the view from 3.
Come on down.
Hello, my name is Karen Sticko, and we live in basically a catty corner from my neighbor that just spoke, and I had moved my mother up here about 3 years ago so that she could have a safe, quiet place to finish out her life, and that I could help bring up my grandkids, which I have 8 that play out there. We have horses, we have chickens, we have pigs. And with all that traffic and people are, coming up and down the road, I don't feel it's safe that we would have industrial right across the road from where we live. From the retention pond is where our house would be. It's more of a family type place right across the road where we live. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, when I looked that way, I was looking at that map to see where the retention pond was.
Right across the street.
Yeah,
from my
okay.
house.
I was just, that's why I looked away. Okay, anybody else would like to speak?
I live at 520 West County Road. It's right across from parcel 1. Just bought clothes in my house less than a month ago and got a letter in the mail saying it's gonna be rezoned. I have 3 small children who can't be here because they're 4, 2, and 1, and no one wants to hear that. Having our 4th at the end of the year, and obviously we're concerned it's a safety issue. One, the trucks from the landfill already run down our road super fast, which I'm sure the neighbors can attest to. I can't imagine the increased traffic from an industrial park, especially if there's entrances off of 400 South into the industrial park. And our neighbor mentioned the safety of her grandchildren playing in the front yard. Again, I don't feel safe with my children playing in the front yard across the street from an industrial park. Industrial parks typically, obviously, warehouses. Warehouses typically felon friendly. Why would I want my children playing in their front yard in the view of felons? Like, I'm not going to pretend to have the mind of a criminal, but they're felons for a reason. They've gotten in trouble for a reason. I don't want my children exposed to that. We bought this house with the idea of, oh, our children will grow up here. Our children will, we're going to raise animals. We have chickens. We're getting a milk cow in the spring. This is something we were really looking forward to, and obviously super disappointed. 2 weeks later, after signing on our house, we received this letter in the mail saying the beautiful, I see a cornfield will be boring to everybody else. I'm born and bred in the Midwest. I love cornfield and soybean fields. Nice to look at. Our beautiful view right out our front window is going to be an industrial park. And it's like, well, that is like maybe be nothing to somebody else. Again, please come sit on our front porch and imagine that being your view for the rest of your life. Thank you.
My name is Rick Alderson. I live right across the street from the,
Could you pull the microphone a little bit closer? You have a soft voice and
yeah.
it's not picking it up.
My name's Rick Alderson. I live
Well,
right
thank
across
you,
the
sir.
street from this and lived there 25 years. I've raised my kids, but now the grandkids are there and I'm worried about the traffic and all that. And the property values, I know one guy said it does affect it. I've already looked into it. It's going to affect it quite a bit. But we had a new young family move in. It's got 3 kids, probably 5 and under, and they're going to live right next to the road. Worried about the traffic.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Ron Reese. I live basically directly across from the house that they took over. It's stripped down now, looks terrible, trash I'm picking up all the time. I walk my dog daily. There's people who walk that road, ride their bike. This is it's a nice neighborhood. I lived in the city for 33 years after I was married. It's time to retire. I found a nice little home, move out there and love it. And now this is coming up. It's just not the time for it, I don't think. We just want to keep industrial on the other side of 3 if all possible. It's just breaks your heart. It's just taking away the view. Safety, security, privacy, all that's going to go away. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
My name's Jill Burke. I'm from the Burke family that lives next door to the landfill. So my grandchildren live right there on 400 South, as do some other children. I want them to be able to ride bikes, go pick up the mail, things like that. We don't need any more traffic out there. We've got enough traffic with the landfill, which was, something that marred the whole neighborhood. This has been a residential and agricultural area for years. And I feel like any industrial stuff should either be concentrated down by 70 or over on the east side of the highway where it already is located. And it looked like there's like 12 sites available in the county for businesses. So I don't see a need for starting in another area. And I feel like the beauty of the corridor coming from 70 into the city is the rural atmosphere and scenery of it. You don't want that to start looking like Mount Comfort Road in Hancock County, a big industrial corridor. And I don't think a 30-foot buff or 30 feet buffer would be enough. That's not even the width of a full-grown spruce tree. I think it should be more like 100 feet. And if you would approve it, I think the entrances should be required to be on the highway, not on the county road. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Are we on time, Tom? We got some more time? Okay, go ahead.
Hello, Jeremiah Riggin. I live at the corner of 400 South and 125. My biggest concern is water runoff because all the water runs off of that area down behind me and my neighbor's house, which ultimately comes across our wells. So we have a big problem if there be water contamination, seeing as how the whole neighborhood's on well water. So I think that would be something that the county would have to look into as well. Whether you guys would provide city water or what's going to go on. I know we're already taking soil samples just to figure out where we're currently at. And if this is to proceed, we're going to, again, take more soil samples into the future, so.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak?
I'm not coming up to re-speak, but it was a serious question that I'm
I,
asking.
yes, I
Okay.
understand that. Yes, thank you. Anybody else like to speak? Going once? Because sometimes people just don't want to jump up, so going once? Going twice? Okay, thank you. Corey, if you, or whoever would like to come up, and you will have 10 minutes. And if you'll just give me a minute to get my. All right, you're good to go.
Referring back to the comprehensive plan, it encourages you to make growth-based decision-making perspectives as opposed to using a fear-based decision-making perspective. Now, I don't want to make light of the fears that many of these neighbors have because they are understandable. But another section of the code says approach solutions to problems with a both and mindset rather than an either or mindset. It doesn't have to be industrial comes in and it's terrible. There are ways to work with the neighbors to improve their view, protect their safety. And many of those concerns, from traffic to drainage to ingress and egress, are all dealt with at the development plan stage when we're actually platting this lot. Tonight, you are looking at this parcel and is the highest and best use to make it light industrial, so there are development opportunities in your county. So it is a limited question, but I didn't want to make light of those concerns because that is something going forward that the RDC would certainly consider when working with its end users. As far as the request to table again, we would oppose that request and point out that in the Henry County Development Code, it specifically says within 60 days after receipt of the proposed amendment, the Planning Commission shall recommend the approval, denial, or approval with modifications of the proposed amendment and submit that to the county commissioners. So while we were willing to waive the 2 to 3 days so that we could be here at your regularly scheduled meeting and not inconvenience everyone with a special meeting, we would object to continuing based on any other reason. If you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Any final questions? Microphone's down.
I don't have a question. I have a total comment. I respect all the comments that everybody's made in regards to this rezoning. But guys, we've been here before, and sometimes we make mountains out of molehills. Talk about safety. I don't think anybody's going to come in there and do something that's going to jeopardize your kids. you talk about Greenville expanding out. If you want Newcastle or Henry County to expand out, if we don't start making property available for them, it's not gonna happen. But just like Brother Corey said, there's no guarantee anybody's coming in tomorrow. It might be 10 years from now. May not be none of us even around when it happens. But the point is have something available if it does happen. We've got other property that we've rezoned that they're farming it, have been farming it ever since we rezoned it because nobody has accepted it, you know, or made it.
Okay, okay. We can't get into a back and forth here, so we'll just let him finish and then we'll move on.
But I just want to tell you, you know, I think the situation exists where if we don't do something, guys, you know, if we don't suck it up and think about what we need to do for the benefit of our grandkids, there won't be nothing for them.
Anybody else? Marcia? Yes, you press and hold that button right there.
I have two questions. With the retention pond proposal, will that take care of the water runoff that they're concerned about, or is that not in the area that would cause that?
Mike's on. My name is Matt Maple with HWC Engineering. Specifically, that detention pond is designed to throttle back any surface runoff on the property, if that was the question about drainage and stuff like that. There are kind of two discharge points to the north on the property. We will be required to not increase any of those and in fact throttle them back from, it typically cuts back to about 10% of what is currently leaving the site. So we will hold back any water and release it slowly over time to reduce any flooding to the north for the detention of the surface water.
Okay, and then I have one more question. They mentioned their desire to have the entrance on State Road 3 versus 400. How?
That's more of a end user question that I'll let Corey speak on.
We're unable to make any commitment in regards to ingress egress
Okay.
because State Road 3 is under the jurisdiction of the Indiana Department of Transportation. And any ingress egress would be evaluated through their permit process. And since we don't have an end user in mind, we're not prepared to make a permit application.
While you're still up there, Corey, or were you finished, Marcia, or were you finished? Okay, I didn't want to butt into your questioning. While you're still up there, we do have some say, I would say, on County Road 400 South, correct?
Yeah, the highway department permit process,
Right.
working with the highway department and the county highway engineer. But we're not even prepared to.
Right. I'm speaking a little bit hypothetical, but I think we can talk a little bit of specifics here. I heard safety, I heard property value. I do think the 30-foot buffer with the right kind of vegetation would be a great asset. And I think you can get vegetation to really sound and sight and the things that people find potentially to be a distraction or a safety issue or a sound issue. What I'm thinking, because I think one of the options is a modification of approval, that long laneway or driveway that you see the 3 or 4 houses, some of the people are represented here, to the east of one. You see that little sliver of land? That's a long driveway back there. You see what I'm talking about? There's a big property to the north. of 400. But then there's that sliver that's a driveway. I would make a recommendation that approval would be contingent upon no entrance to this industrial park being beyond, across from that driveway that goes back, in other words, about halfway back there, because semis would be a concern if I
I'm
lived
gonna
in
have
this
to
area.
get them, I'm gonna give you the mouse so you can point out where the location is.
So Corey, you know where I'm talking about, that sliver to the east side of all those properties. It goes back to a property that's pretty far.
No, I think we can work through it.
Looks like it goes back to Pamela Perez.
Yes. I was in the landfill this past week, dumping stuff up there. The smell is horrendous up there at the top of that landfill where it's not been, where it's fresh landfill garbage. I would not want to live much. And I understand the traffic would be very, if, I didn't know they used 400. I figured they'd probably use Spiceland Pike, but they probably use whatever the closest area is from wherever they're at.
Do I have it? Well, it keeps disappearing.
I would suggest.
Right here?
No entrance to this industrial park west of there. Yes, that sliver. So you've got 300, you've got 25 west, you've got 400 up to that point. And that would keep any semis and heavy traffic out across from these individuals who I think have a legitimate concern. And maybe that's not possible, but I wish it were.
So the buffer that we're proposing on the northern edge of the property, so along 400 South, is well above and beyond your development code.
So the types of trees and bushes and.
If it's up to me, there'd be no access on 400. We close 25 west down, make it all one partial, and all access has to come off of 3. No construction access on 400. I work on these kinds of jobs, and they shut it down like that.
My only concern with that, it would limit whoever the possibility of future individuals. Again, we're restricted to what the Department of Transportation, Indiana Department of Transportation will allow on 3. Yeah, in an ideal world, I agree with Jacob that would be correct. I just think a hybrid compromise would be not east of that driveway or not west of that driveway. And we're speaking hypothetically, but I think that would alleviate 90% of the safety issues that have been brought up.
But then you've got the semis that don't follow the signs that still go down the drive or go down the road.
Not if there's no entrance to it beyond that point, they wouldn't.
Well,
They go down the road and have to turn around and come back because they don't follow directions. It's still going to be a safety issue.
I'm not here to argue. I just think it'd be a lot less safety issue.
Commissioner Plummer,
yes.
may I confer with our engineer before?
Mhm. Yeah.
Does it take a commercial break?
Yes. Sean, if I need to recess the meeting, ask Sean if I need to recess do I need to recess the meeting while he does that? Corey, do you want a full recess? Okay. 10 minutes? Okay. Do I have a motion for a 10-minute recess? So I have a
Second.
Second, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, we are recessed for 10 minutes. I will set the timer for 10 minutes and we will be back in 10 minutes. Okay, Corey, I'm giving you a 2-minute, 2.5-minute warning. Corey, your 30 seconds. Okay, I'm going to call the meeting back to order. Thank you. Well, if we could call the meeting back to order, please. I think everybody is seated up here. All right. So I think the question was, I think it was Member Gray and Member Roberts who was asking questions about entrance.
Yes, points of ingress and egress. So we debated what options we could possibly enter into. Because we are only at the rezoning point, this is really just way too early in the process to commit to a specific development standard such as an ingress or egress point. We've already gone beyond what would normally happen in a rezoning to offer that 30-foot buffer because we are trying to be good neighbors. And I have Mr. Murphy's agreement that he will use best efforts in talking to all end users to drive them towards using State Road 3 or the furthest 1/3 east of County Road 400. Now, there's no way we can put that into a written commitment. That is just the RDC's word that they are going to use their best efforts to not put an industrial opening directly across from Mr. Dupre's driveway.
Okay, does that answer any further questions on that?
I mean, once we get to the development plan point, we can talk about those specifics. We can talk about access roads. There are lots of options. It's just not something we can put in a rezoning commitment at this time.
And could you restate one more time the commitment that Mr. Murphy has made?
Do you want to state it? I don't have to put words in your mouth, but that in conversations with end users and developers, he will use best efforts to encourage the ingress and egress points to be plotted onto State Road 3 or the furthest 1/3 east of County Road 400 when you're looking at that 92-acre parcel in order to avoid the private driveways that are further west.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, I'm gonna do like I did, going once, going twice. I need you to use your microphone. Yeah, okay. Mhm.
The letter that was in our packet that I think should be read.
And which one is that? Can I just take yours?
Yes.
So I don't have to put through my. One right here. This was dated September the 12th. Dear members of Henry County Planning Commission, on behalf of the East Central Indiana Regional Partnership, I am writing to extend our support for the proposed zoning change to light industrial for the property under review in order to expand the industrial part in the area. This strategic change is a key part of ongoing efforts to promote economic development and create growth opportunities within Henry County and supports the growth of East Central region. The transition to light industrial zoning will enable the attraction of new industries and investments that are essential for Henry County and our region's sustained economic success. Having available land with proper zoning creates more opportunities for development and creates more potential to secure investment and job creation. With an increasing demand for industrial space, this zoning modification will ensure that we are well-positioned to meet the needs of prospective businesses, while also providing local employment opportunities and contributing to the overall economic vitality of East Central Indiana. The ECIRP is dedicated to fostering an environment that supports business retention, attraction, and long-term regional development. We believe that this zoning change aligns with our regional goals and serves as a catalyst for future growth. Thank you for your attention to this important matter. We urge your favorable consideration of this zoning request, and we look forward to the positive economic impacts it will generate in Henry County and our region. Sincerely, Trevor Friedberg, President and CEO of the East Central Indiana Regional Partnership. Okay, so we are at a point for a motion for the rezone, approve, disapprove, or approve with modifications. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion, we approve.
We have a motion from Delco to approve. Do we have a second? Second by David Fisher. You want to do a roll call vote?
Yes. This is the motion to approve the advisory opinion, which goes to the commissioners hereafter. So it'd be to approve the rezone that's been proposed. Bobby Plummer,
Yes.
David Fisher, Jason Roberts, Marsha Gratner, Dale Cole,
Yes.
Kenna Gray,
Yes.
Lori Pritchett, Terry Matney.
Yes.
And that recommendation approved will go to the commissioners at their next meeting.
Will our next meeting is next Wednesday. Will it happen that quickly or will it be the November? Because our next meeting is the, whatever next Wednesday is. Yeah, the 23rd. Will that be? I just want to make sure when you say next meeting, it's actually the next meeting since it's the 23rd. Okay. I just want to make sure because sometimes it's not enough time to do that. Okay, so this will go in front of the commissioners at their 11/23 or 10/23. I'm losing a month. 10/23 meeting at 6 p.m. in this room. So next Wednesday, October 23rd at 6 p.m., the commissioners will hear this rezone again. Okay. All right. Thank you. So next is new business, which is the consideration of the primary plat of the Samuel Hall Estate subdivision presented by BCT Properties in Indianapolis.
Madam President, you want to let this clear out a little bit first?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes, we will let whoever wants to
bet you
leave,
grab that,
leave.
you do
Yes,
that.
and I'll grab my laptop.
And also my engineer has said he has lost connection or you need to let him back in or something. Okay.
May I leave those?
Yes. Watch your back. Yeah, for next week. Yeah, that's fine. Yep. Okay. All right, so we got everybody back in. We've got documents up on the screen, and I think we're ready to go.
Okay. Breck Heidi, BCT Properties, Madam President, fellow Henry County Planning Commissioner members, good evening. I hope you're all doing well. We'll try to be quicker for you. We are here to present and get approval on our preliminary plat, which all of you had copies have been circulating around to look at. Here with me tonight also is Lance Charette, my partner, Phil Willis from Hallmark Homes, Vice President of Operations, and also on a Zoom call is my engineer, Don Humphrey with Insight Engineering. As many of you probably in residence here in Henry County have seen, we've already done a few improvements on the property. We took away the mobile home, we finally got that out of there. There was a garage that was tore down and a riding stable that's been taken out. So I think there's only one barn left on there for storage of equipment and things. Yes?
No, hang on.
Oh.
You can leave it unlocked. Thank you. You can leave it unlocked. Thank you.
Thought I did something wrong. I'm thinking about it.
No, he's leaving
You're fine.
the office.
You're fine. I'm sure probably a lot of you have questions. I didn't know if you wanted to hear from the engineer first, if that's who you'd like to talk to on the presentation, or what was the preference by the Planning Commission.
Does anybody have a preference? Do you want to hear from the engineer and then do questions?
And for background, this is 65 lots, residential R1 lots that will be in the subdivision.
Nobody jumped up and said they had any questions, so we'll go ahead and let the engineer.
Okay. Don, if you're on, I know you're probably blocked out with the view that's up there now, but if you're on the call, go ahead and talk about the plans and things that went into this.
Okay, can you hear me all right then?
Yes.
Okay. Again, as Breck said, I'm Don Humphrey. Appreciate all your time tonight. So, as Breck said, what this is, it's about 22.9 acres. It's south of County Road 200, north and east of State Road 3. We're proposing a 65 lot subdivision. There's 68 lots total, one being the common area for the detention pond. And then there's two other common areas, one of which is located along the east side of the plat, which I know Breck has been trying to maybe convert that into a trail system, see if there's any interest in that. But at this point, we're looking at 65 lots. I apologize, it didn't all fit on one drawing, but there's in the right corner, yeah, you'll see that's the overall development. It's proposed to be done in 3 phases, mainly so the home builder, so we don't get too far ahead of the home builder as far as being able to how many lots they can build. We anticipate the full build out in probably a 2-3 year period. They're ready to start, as early as possible, given or once we get approvals. We've already been in contact with both the county surveyor's office, the county engineering department, and coordinating through Tom Green, of course, on what's been proposed so far. Water and sewer will be supplied by the city of Newcastle. So there won't be any wells or septic, obviously, on these, let's say, size lots. Other than that, it's a pretty simple layout. We've got a loop system, the pond in the middle. There is one caveat to the site. We've got a drainage swale running through the site that's identified as Memorial Creek. We've coordinated this again through your technical staff that we will basically be taking some off-site drainage that goes through the creek, through our detention pond and back out the other end. So we'll accommodate any off-site drainage that comes through this property currently. It'll be incorporated into our pond system. Other than that, there's not a whole lot to discuss. It's pretty self-explanatory. Like you said, there are one lots, they range between the minimum sizes, and then the corner lots, some get to be 15,000 square feet, but there'll be two different models of houses, which if you get to that point, I'll let the home builder talk about those, but there's two lots, two types of lots. What we call type 1 and 2 is based on the building pad area and the square footage of the houses. So with that, I don't have much else to say. If you guys have any questions.
Thank you very much. Do you have anything else to add?
The only thing I was going to add for the record, we had to notify and we sent registered letters to both Newcastle Fire Department for fire service, Newcastle Schools for school corporation service, and also the mayor's office, just to let them know because of the sewer and water. I did hear from Chief Moore on Tuesday. He didn't know if he was going to be able to make it tonight due to personal commitments. I have not heard anything from the schools or from the mayor's office regarding the registered letters.
Okay. Is there any questions from, I saw your light. Go ahead, Kenneth.
Yeah, it's the clue, the light. Are these 1-story or 2-story, and what are the approximate square footage of these type 1 and type 2 dwellings?
Hi, everybody. My name is Phil Willis. I'm the VP of Operations with Hallmark Homes. In this specific subdivision, we haven't exactly nailed down all the exact specs on what these are going to be, but in general, it'll be a mix of ranches and 2-story plans, probably 3 to 5 different floor plans, and then within each of those 3 to 5 plans, we'll have 3 different elevations on the exterior. The square footage for the ranches will probably range from about 1,500 up to 1,800. And then the 2 stories will probably be 1,800 up to the 22, maybe 2,300 square feet.
What things have changed since you were last here? What are the approximate selling cost of these homes? I think the last time you were here, you mentioned something about more or less being starter homes, but I know that price range has done nothing but go up in the last year.
Yeah, so I think currently with those specs I just mentioned, we're at probably mid 200s to mid 300s, being in the mid 200s for the smaller 1,400 square foot, and then for the 2,200 to 2,300 square foot 2-story, you're looking at more the mid 3s.
Yes, go ahead, Dale.
Been a long time since we met.
Been a month or two.
Hey, a question I got is, one thing we talked about was exit in and out. We talked about leaving it as is as far as the present addition is concerned. So this would be a new in and out exit. Is that right?
Yes, right now, the plans that we have, we had looked at a State Road 3 option, but it really wasn't feasible. So the ingress and egress will be on 200 North.
Yeah, it'd be on the, you can see up there on the.
Yeah, on the very top there on the north
Very
end.
top, that's 200 North.
And one thing we did take into account is wider entrances for school buses,
Uh-huh.
fire trucks, all of those things.
Yeah, it looks like a pretty wide.
Yeah,
Wide
it's,
entrance.
you could almost, ma'am, shut one side down and run it on the other side. So if there was, for instance, one of the things that was suggested was made by Tom Green, which is perfectly valid. What do you do if you have a car wreck right in front of the entrance?
Mhm.
And they could shut pretty much one side completely down, operate how they needed to, and operate on the other side with a free pass in and out. So yeah, we kept that pretty wide. When Sam bought this, or actually not when he bought it, but when it became available, there are 2 lots on 200 North that came with the property that he sold it to us. And basically we've consumed a great portion of those 2 lots for the entrance.
Does that answer your question, Dale? Okay, any other questions? Marcia?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
On 3.16 of your, covenants,
Mhm.
Could you go over that again? It's on the, commitments were made in connection with zoning, or how you were gonna, to me, fences make very nice neighbors. So, what are we doing to, on each side, have some privacy for the existing homes? that
Right, you're
are-
talking about what butts up against Rain Tree and what butts up against the homes on 200 North. Is that what you're looking at?
Yeah, to the west, to the east, and the north.
I know we had talked about, again, it's been several months. I know one of the things we had talked about was using more natural foliage, trees, things along that nature versus fences is what we're looking at. We're pretty open to looking at that possibility, so we're not tied into one thing. So if the planning commission has something that they want to see specifically, it's certainly a discussion we won't have. I said if the planning commission has something they want, it's certainly a discussion we would be willing to have. Does that help or?
Well, I just want to make sure, but again,
Pesky
fences are
buttons.
really good neighbors, and I just want to make sure that you don't have to worry about, people moving their playground equipment, and they don't realize where the line is and things like that. It's from my prior experience, that's why I'm bringing this up.
I get it completely. And some of the neighbors on 200 North, not so much Rain Tree, but on 200 North have kind of, gosh, how can I say this? Encroached. I was trying to think of another word besides that, but have moved kind of towards the farmland. When we had the surveys done, I could tell you the row of trees that Sam had put in initially, probably 10, 15 years ago, is actually several feet inside of the boundary line. So I only know of one building, a back building on one of the houses that's over the property line. Everything else, they've taken yard or fire pits out there, nothing stationary. But I only know of one back building I think we might have an issue with.
Okay, so you're making a commitment to make sure and do something.
Yeah, we're okay with trees or whatever, things like that, something more natural. I have no issue with that.
So
That's fine.
are you talking, show me on your, where are you talking about? I'm just a little confused.
I think she's talking about the property lines,
The
is that right?
property lines? Oh, with Rain Tree okay, I got you now. All right.
Just want to make sure because I've had experience where
Microphone.
fences are a good thing or like what you're saying. I just want to make sure something is done.
Some kind of
for the-
for barrier, for lack of a better term. Yeah, go ahead.
Long Rain Tree,
Could you-
there is along the entire strip there, there's an easement for utilities that's already there that we cannot do any development on. So it's from the distinction of Rain Tree versus our property there, there really isn't anything that we could change or do anyway, because that is utility easement. And that's what we're looking at, potentially donating as a walk park or, something in that,
Thank you. Any other questions?
I got one, Marcia. This document, this covenant of conditions, is this just a suggestion? Is this something that's legally binding throughout the entire process? I mean, we can look at this and read and talk to it. Can it change?
It could potentially change.
So we really
Absolutely.
can't put any true 100% stock in what it's saying because we're saying it could change.
It's a possibility.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. go ahead,
That's what,
Tom.
no, that's what I wanted to know. Yeah. So take everything with a grain of salt, good suggestions, but we can't be sure they'll be there in the future.
Can I interject?
Yeah, yeah.
The covenants and conditions are part of the primary plat approval. So if you approve these, they could change them, but they would have to change. That would be a process in itself. These become part of the approval of that plat.
Okay.
So if they decide to change anything in the covenants, they have to come back.
They would, I thought, that's probably something I'd have to ask legal, but this becomes a legal binding document with
the plat.
with the
That's
plat.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thanks, Tom.
And,
Now,
and I will say, Terry, like if we get questions on.
And this becomes binding upon the developers and the property owners that buy a lot.
So for
You
example.
probably don't have any covenants where you are.
No.
What?
Trouble spelling it.
Right, yeah. You stay over there.
Okay, yeah, yeah, right. Thanks,
For-
Tom. Thank
For
you.
example, if we get a question about chickens, we look to see if it's
We've
in a
addressed that.
subdivision. Yeah, well, but sometimes they may have more chickens than what we allowed them to have chickens.
Right.
So well, I'll say ducks. We haven't talked about ducks. Then we look at the subdivision, if there's any covenants, anything binding within the plat and the agreements and the covenants themselves. Because maybe the subdivision says, we will not allow chickens, and somebody has chickens. The county allows chickens, but the covenants don't allow chickens. So that's one avenue that we go by.
Almost all of our housing developments have some kind of covenants. As each, and we have 168 subdivisions in the county. I would say 150 of them have covenants of some degree. As each year goes by,
I don't think so.
these covenants get more and more numerous, more and more considerations.
Complicated.
We have a lot of them that say you can't build a pole barn on your property at all. We have others that say how big it can be. Some don't address it at all. So there's lots of different things that can go into the covenants. And usually the homeowners associations are the ones that monitor that. And there's provisions for homeowners associations in this. And Breck is going to be the heavy in that in enforcing it, he said.
Yeah, when we wrote it, sort of answer your question, we did write a line in there that the homeowners can create an HOA if they wish in order to impose additional restrictions if they choose to.
Dell asked me if you had a tentative date for.
Do you have,
Yeah, you heard,
Do-
you heard me echoing it.
do you have a target date for, Brick and Brown?
We've only been waiting on this.
So this is the primary plat.
Let's put it this way, the way we've looked at it, as far as the major breaking of ground, we've always been looking at next spring. But I'm poised to start, upon you guys' approval, I'm poised to start at least moving some dirt.
As I've become to know Lance a little bit, I'm sure that the bulldozer is sitting out there idling right now. So
Bulldozer and the dump truck both.
I think he's probably ready. If this is approved, there are a few steps which we have discussed. It goes to a secondary plat approval, which clears up a few little things, and then they have to go through a bonding process that gets presented to the commissioners. They have to meet with our highway engineer and make sure that the road and all construction stuff meets the specifications so that they can take their roads over in the time frame that's set by our code. And at that time that the secondary is approved, and that can happen fairly quickly, we can bring it back here, bring the secondary back here if you have changes or anything that we need to do. If you don't have any changes, you can approve that the secondary be done administratively out of our office. And we still have to do all the other things and bring it to the commissioners. Then it gets recorded and becomes a plat, goes to GIS, and Angie does her magic, and then they can start moving dirt. So it's not something they can do tomorrow, but within a few weeks, they could be in the process of beginning the preparation of the site.
Okay. No, Marcia's got another question. No, he said, he said you need a motion. I said, no, Marcia has another question.
I really appreciate all the restrictions you have in this covenant. And that said, are you working with state and or federal to get funding for any of this?
We are working through eco development to get some additional funding, yes.
Could you say that one more time?
Yeah, we're working through eco development, Henry County Economic Development to do some funding on this, yes.
Henry County Economic Development.
But are you getting subsidized at all by state or federal funding?
No, I get it.
Okay.
Question before he makes a motion.
Are you, gonna require a certain amount of the house to be all brick?
That's a builder question, I think.
For those who didn't hear,
No, it'd be for
Yeah.
whoever's developing it. I mean, are you gonna require people to have 80%, 75% of the house brick instead of all of just vinyl?
I mean, that's really kind of up to whatever the covenants and restrictions and what we're gonna apply to the spec in this neighborhood. It's not really for me to say. I mean, it's certainly something we could do, but that 250 to 350 base price I mentioned, if we're doing 80% brick on the front of the house or something, that's only gonna increase that starting base price. So that's kind of what you have to weigh in that regard.
Question. It looks like the east side that separates Christopher Drive lots from your subdivision proposed is the old interurban line. You say that particular space could either be a trail or you cannot do any kind of vegetation buffer on that particular separating Raintree Heights from this subdivision. Is that correct? Or are we, to like Marcia said, looking at fences or what are the possibilities separating Raintree Heights because of the old interurban line that seems to be between the two subdivisions?
Yes.
What can you and cannot do, and what do you propose to do, if anything?
It's a good question. I actually a few months ago met with Jeff Ray, who does a lot of your trail systems here. And we had some initial discussions. I only met with him once. We had some initial discussions on working a trail system out there where the power lines are at, and then right below it is big gas main that goes underneath it. So that's what Lance was alluding to on the concern on what we could put up, how far we could drill down, especially with it being on an easement. So where that interurban goes, as you called, and all that runs through, yeah, we have looked at putting a trail system in. I can tell you from personal experience, I'm on Cumberland's Town Council. I'm the VP there, and we have set a goal that most of our new housing connects to our trail system, and have found that to be very successful. We're building like crazy out there. So to answer your question, I envision that being trails and hooking to the trail system here in Henry County. That's our best bet with that. And again, I think it provides recreation for the folks in Raintree Heights also. It's not exactly like we'll have a ticket counter there, right? So they can also come on the trail system. And we're only, Tom might be able to answer this question better than me, mile and a half south of the park.
Yeah,
that
that's
right?
probably about right. You're not very far from the park.
Yeah.
That is
So
true.
it would probably
And-
go towards that direction.
I would add something, Ken, that the power company is very restrictive on what they allow under their power line.
Right, sure.
Yeah.
They often allow fencing to cross the power line right away, but parallel to it, if it's under it, they're not going to like that. And you can't do anything that would restrict their access. Same for the gas people. They get pretty restrictive.
So
You got
this,
both things there.
But
urban line-
there could be plantings, I think. I think there's some leeway there for some plantings.
so the old interurban.
Jason
line
might be able to answer some of that.
Has power lines
Yes.
running over the old interurban area.
I-
Okay.
Power line overhead, gas under.
Yeah, Jason might be able to answer some of that about, no, about what might be allowed under power lines or around pipelines. But yeah, there's a lot to consider. So that's as far as barriers between there, I know they've talked with that, and I mentioned to Breck earlier today that maybe they can do something with Dr. Stussey's organization and putting in some plantings, native grasses, things like that. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, wildflowers, anything that would help improve
Would
that
break it up.
area and break it up.
Okay. Any other questions? Going once?
I do have one.
Oh my gosh, Lori.
I've never heard her speak at any of these meetings.
Well,
Gun up her curry.
it's just taken me a couple years, but Where is this at on as far as the drainage board is concerned?
It is my understanding that they've met all the requirements for drainage. And with Steve Rust, it's my.
Yeah,
report-
they,
Met all the requirements.
right, that you wouldn't have this if they would not have gone through all the drainage programs. We went back and forth with engineering 4 or 5 times to get things.
Yes,
where
it's funny
everybody
you
was
asked that. When
happy.
we did the original plan, it was under the old ordinance. The new ordinance was put out, and it was 20-foot easements on the stormwater lines.
Yeah.
And then when they came back, says, oh no, it's changed to 30-foot now. So of course, we had to go do a redo on all the lots to move the lots to gain the 10 feet in order to make it 30 feet on the easement for the stormwater lines.
That's why you see the pond in the,
The circular deal lent this to this. That way we can come with stormwater drains right into the pond on each side of the street. It was kind of the most efficient way to do it.
Any other questions?
So gosh, a letter almost 2 years ago from our county attorney was that the city water and sewer, this is sufficient.
Yes.
Because that has nixed several subdivisions that we've looked at in the past because they did not check off the water and sewer to multiple entities' satisfaction. I assume they're going to tie into the line that was up to Geo, is that?
yes, you have it, you have in your packet the letter from,
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
agreeing to provide service
Yeah,
to.
that is the line that they will be connecting to.
Okay, so that is
Yep.
adequate then?
Yep.
Okay. I'm done.
Yeah,
And we have been in touch with the city utilities. There's this system will be a pressure system because what we're tying into is the brand new 16-inch force main they put in for the prison. So there's a sanitary force main and a water main that we will tie into on 200. So, yes, that will be taken care of. They've actually even provided connection points for us on our side of the road already.
Let us know when you're gonna speak next time, Doc. I thought it was my interaction.
What's that?
Well, I would hope a $10 million water sewer project would handle a lot more than just Geo and the.
Well, and that's why we increased the line. Because originally it wasn't gonna be. And we increased it.
Yeah,
Forethought.
yeah, when they ran new lines
Yeah,
out there.
when we
Yep.
ran new lines, yeah. Yeah, cost the county an additional $1 million, but hey, it's worth it.
We're just going through a $37 million bonding in Cumberland to redo our sewer,
Yeah.
the treatment plant and the package plant.
Yeah, so, okay, anybody else? So Del Cole has made a motion to approve the primary plat. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Ken and Gray seconded. You want to do a roll call vote, Sean, or do you want all in favor?
Oh, I can do a roll call.
Okay.
Bobby Plummer,
Yes.
David Fisher, Jason Roberts, Marsha Gratner, Dale Cole,
Yes.
Ken and Gray,
Yes.
Lori Pritchett, Terry Matney.
Yes.
Approves.
It is approved. Thank you. With that, we have nothing else on the itinerary. Dale, you're up.
Just one brief comment, I think you've seen where Spicer got their own planning commission.
Yep.
And I think it was effective January.
No, they're working on it. Yep. I think it's great.
Push them out.
Yeah. That
Motion
means they're
adjourned.
growing. I have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? All in favor? Meeting adjourned.